All right, everyone. So today we're going to continue section 11.3, Simplifying Rational Expressions, but it's day 3. So before I start the new lesson, I just want to recap of the other 2 days of what we learned in this section. All right, so the first topic that I went over was excluded values, okay? Excluded values represents when the denominator is equal to 0, okay? We know that under division, 0 is undefined, so therefore I need to find out the value that will make my denominator equal to 0, and that will represent my excluded value because I can't have 0 under division, all right? So this expression is already factored. All I have to do is set it equal to 0 and solve for x. So I will subtract 2 to both sides, and I get x equals -2. So this represents my excluded value because if I plug in a -2 here, I get -2 plus 2, which is 0. And I can't have a 0 in the denominator because it will make it undefined, all right? So that is finding excluded values. Then last week, you had to simplify monomials, all right? Now, we learned this in chapter 7, but let's just recap to refresh your memory. So we divide our numbers, but when we are dividing, we subtract exponents when I have a monomial divided by a monomial. Okay, one term over one term. All right, so before I start dividing, I like to circle my variables that have my higher exponent, bigger exponent. So you see how this x, I'm going to circle it because cube is bigger than squared. Then I'm going to circle my y to the 4th because it's bigger than y to the 1st. So this tells me where my x and my y will stay, okay? So what is 9 divided by 18? Not 2, it's 1/2, okay? So now I'm going to subtract my exponents. 3 minus 2 is 1. You really don't have to put the 1, I'm just showing you, okay? And then 4 minus 1, because there's a 1 here, will give me y to the 3rd. So my answer, okay, is x over 2y cubed, okay? Let's do one more. So 24 divided by 4 is 6. Again, I will circle this one. So this tells me my x will stay in the denominator. So 3 minus 1 is x squared. And the y's just cancels because they both are raised to the first power. And 1 minus 1 is 0. And anything to the 0 power gives you 1. So it just cancels. So my answer is 6 over x squared. Okay, so this is what we did last week. This was day 1, day 2, and now day 3 is I'm dividing expressions, okay? Now, when I divide expressions, see, look at the difference. This is one term over one term, okay? But these are expressions. So therefore, in order for me to divide, I need to make sure that all of my expressions are in factored form. Must be in factored form before you start dividing. Okay, so let's look at the numerator. How can I factor this? What type of factor is this? All right, so I'm looking at 2x and 18. What do they have in common? Which is a 2. That tells me this is a GCF problem for the numerator. So I'm going to factor out the 2. That means I'm dividing the 2 to tell me what is left in the parentheses. So I get x plus 9, okay? Say 2x, if I pull out the 2, I'm left with 2x divided by 2 is x, 18 divided by 2 is 9, okay? So now I look at my denominator. I gotta factor this, all right? So I know x squared, I get x times x. The last term is negative. How do I get a negative number? Positive times a negative, all right? And what are the factors of 9? I could either use 9 and 1 or 3 times 3. But this should tell you if my numerator had an x plus 9, most likely I'm going to have an x plus 9. And it should be 9 and 1 because 9 times 1 is 9 and 9 minus 1 gives you the 8. Remember, signs are important. So the middle term is positive. That tells me the greater number should be positive because it carries the sign. All right. So now my numerator and my denominator are both factored. Now I'm able to see, can I divide anything? Okay. And in this case, I am able to divide because x plus 9 and x plus 9, they're exactly the same. So I'm able to divide it. Evenly divisible between these two expressions. So what's left over? I'm left with a 2 in the numerator and an x minus 1 in the denominator. So this is my expression. Okay, let's try another one. All right, let's look at the numerator. The numerator is n plus 3. They have nothing in common. That tells me this is already factored. Don't have anything else to do here. Okay. Denominator, there's a trinomial, so I have to factor it, okay? I have an n. How do I get an n squared? N times n. My last term is positive. This tells me it's either going to be 2 positives or 2 negatives, all right? I look at the middle number, is positive. This tells me it's 2 positives. So now ask yourself, what are the factors of 21 that will add up to 10? Because I have the same 2 signs, I'll be adding them. So this should tell you 3 and 7. 3 times 7 is 21. 3 plus 7 is 10. All right. So then now that they're both factored, now I'm able to divide. Do they have anything in common? They do. N plus 3, n plus 3. When everything cancels out in the numerator, you have to put the 1. Okay. Anything that's evenly divisible, what are you left with? A 1. 3 divided by 3, 1. 4 divided by 4, 1. Okay. So your answer should still be a fraction. So this would divide it evenly. So I'm left with the 1 in the numerator and I'm left with an n plus 7 in the denominator. Okay. Okay, let's do 2 more to so you could get the hang of it before you do your assignment. Okay. So I'm going to first look at my numerator. All right. It's a trinomial. They don't have a GCF, right? How do I get a y squared? Y times y. My last term is negative. That tells me I should have a plus and a minus. So what factor should I use? 10 and 1 or 5 and 2? What do I need to get? A 9. So that should tell you I should use 10 times 1 because 10 minus 1 gives you the 9. The 9 is positive, so the 10 has to be positive to carry the sign. Okay. Now I look at my denominator. Now this is just a linear expression, but they have a factor in common. They have a 2 in common. That means this is a GCF. So I factor out the 2. 2y divided by 2 is y, plus 20 divided by 2 is 10. I'm dividing because when I distribute back, I should get back to that original problem. All right. So now I just look, do they have something in common? They do. So I'm left with y minus 1 over 2. Okay. All right. Last one. So you guys could get started. All right. Numerator. What's the GCF? 12. Okay. I have a trinomial. X and X. The last number is negative, so it has to be a plus and a minus, right? What are the factors of 12? I have 1 and 12, 6 and 2, and 3 and 4. But which of them that when I subtract gives me a 1? That should be a 3 and a 4. So you see how the numerator has an x plus 3? Most likely it will be x plus 3 and x minus 4, which is correct because negative 4 plus 3 will give you the negative 1. Okay, so I cancel this out. And I'm left with 12 over x minus 4. Now, this is your answer, okay? You cannot divide 12 divided by 4, right? That's, you definitely cannot do that because this is an expression, and the only thing that could cancel out an expression is with another expression. It's like, let me give you an example. If I give you this, okay? Let me give you this. All right, you're not going to divide 12 divided by 3 is 4 over negative 5. You can't do that. This is an expression. You will do 3 minus 5 first before you're able to divide. So this is why I'm telling you, you can't, see this you cannot do, all right? So here you cannot do that either. You cannot divide 12 divided by 4 because x minus 4 is together as an expression. You can only divide it with another expression. So this is why this is your answer, okay? So if you have any questions, you can always email me.